In today's video, I'd like to share with you 3 hard truths we must face as a composer. These are all things I've had to come to terms with personally, and I've seen these with my other students as well. And by the end of this video, you'll not only understand what these problems are, but also how to overcome them consistently every single time they come up. Especially the third one. Stick around for that because that's one that I've come to terms with more recently, and I thought it might be really important to share with you as well. So the very first truth is that our first tracks will most likely suck. And I really don't say this to be condescending at all or anything like that, but I just want to share the objective truth. As we continue our growth as a composer and as we gain experience, naturally your tracks will increase in quality over time, right? And when you think about any skill that you learn, it's just the way it happens. The first attempts you have at starting something new, you may very well be proud of what you've put out there, and so you should. But when you look back at it, like 10 years down the line, you'll realize, wow, these first attempts that I put out there aren't that great compared to what I'm doing now. And even at this point, like in the more recent years, you might have that same feeling like, wow, I'm actually really proud of what I'm doing currently at this moment, but I know that I could still be so much better. You may have also heard of something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where it's like the people who have very little experience in an area feel like they know so much, and then the people who know a lot, who objectively know a lot, they realize how little they actually know and how much more there is actually for them to learn. So it's really funny the way it works. The better we get at something, the more maybe intimidated or overwhelmed we feel because we actually realize how much more there is for us to improve at. But for me personally, that's a great motivator to continue to strive forward as a composer and try to become better every single day at what I do. And that segues us perfectly to hard truth number 2, which is that we need to practice consistently if we want to continue improving over time. For a lot of composers, this might not actually be an issue at all, but for me, this especially was because even now, I feel like I write my best music when I'm inspired by something. And I really took this to heart and maybe even to the extreme because there were a couple of years where I didn't really write very much music because I was always waiting for a spark of inspiration to hit me. And I was like, I will write when I'm inspired, when I'm feeling motivated, and that time really never came. So what ended up happening was I felt like I wasted my years. It was maybe 2 years, even 3 years, where I was working on my business, I was having fun with content and everything, but I realized that looking back, my musical output wasn't as varied and just I didn't really have much quantity to show for myself as a composer. And that's when I had the recent realization that in order to continue improving and growing as a composer, I need to start practicing consistently in order to see those improvements, because the more you put yourself in those situations in order to write music and create ideas from scratch, it just kind of gives yourself some sort of routine, and that discipline really does help you see results in the long run. One analogy I'd love to share is working out, exercise, right? So it's like you can't expect to write music for 1 month and then wait for a year for motivation to strike and then expect to be a completely different composer who's like so good a year from now without writing anything, right? Skills really only improve as we continue to practice them and refine them over time. So just like exercise, you can't expect to work out for a week, 2 weeks, even 3 weeks or a month, and then stop exercising and then expect to be super healthy and super fit in a year without doing anything for those other 11 months. It just doesn't happen, right? As long as you're able to commit to doing something each and every week, then that will give you the routine and the discipline to kind of follow through even if you don't feel like it. You know, the baseline of just showing up and actually starting and doing something, like that is something a lot of composers won't even do because they feel composing strictly as a hobby, right? Just like I did many years ago. So just like exercise, you got to put in the reps, the sets each and every week to see those eventual results, because as those start to add up and you start to see those results and the transformations start to happen, it actually becomes really addictive and you can really fall in love with composing all over again, and it's a beautiful thing. And that takes us to the third and final truth, which is you might not be recognized right away or possibly ever. And it's a really bitter pill to swallow because I think a byproduct of wanting to write music in the first place is that you want to put content, music out there into the world that people will actually enjoy. And for me personally, I would love to leave a legacy behind where people know me not just for the education content that I put out there, but also for the music that I release as well. And I would hope that, if you're a follower of this channel, most likely you know my content, right? Like the orchestration, sample library stuff, composition stuff. But I think there's a much smaller percentage of you who know I actually write music, and the music is actually there. They're just on separate playlists on my channel, but I use my channel first and foremost as the education space to share with you my process, share what I know, share what I do on a weekly basis. And I kind of share my music as a secondary purpose of this channel, but putting it out there all the same, I know that this music will probably not go viral. I've resolved to the fact that even if I can just reach 1 or 2 people with my music, and it benefits them and it transforms them in some small way and it makes them smile or feel better, then I've done my job as a musician, and that's a wonderful feeling, of course. And I think it's actually not a great thing if we start from the place of wanting to be recognized as a composer or a great writer, because maybe you actually think about the audience perspective a little bit too much, right? Like we always tend to overthink, ooh, what will people think if I put this out there and they don't like it? And when those thoughts start to creep into your head, they can actually demotivate you and even force you to change routes in your composing process. And you might not even commit to your guts, like commit to your instincts. So you might be trying to write for other people instead of writing for yourself. And in that regard, your music actually isn't as authentic to yourself as it could be. So what I've discovered is that it's when I'm staying the most true to myself personally and releasing music that I'm 100% happy and proud of. Those are the pieces where people will say, Chris, this actually sounds like you. Like, I can tell there are different influences included in your music, but somehow it all comes together to sound like your unique style. And I think as a composer, that's one of the biggest compliments that you can receive, because obviously you can copy John Williams, you can copy Hans Zimmer, Gore, and John Powell, right? Like all these amazing composers. But at the end of the day, do you want to be just a copy of these composers, or do you want to sound like yourself? Do you want to develop your own unique signature? And I think leaving a musical legacy is really all about leaving your own sound behind, right? That's what really people will remember about you, or at least what you want people to remember about you as a composer. That's what I would focus on first and foremost as a writer. The more you write, the more of your influences you'll put in there, the more you'll kind of come up with your own tendencies of composing and orchestrating and mixing and stuff. And as a result, the more of yourself will come into your own music. If we just focus on that instead of trying to be famous or trying to be recognized, I think the whole composing process will be so much easier, but we'll feel so much more content as a result as well, because we're not chasing audience approval or that's dopamine spike of having people laud over your music. More so, it's knowing that you wrote something that you truly believe in and are excited about, and that can only do great things for your own personal development and growth as a composer. So I want to leave you with a very simple question. Out of these 3 hard truths that we covered today, which is the one that's been sort of the most stuck in your mind recently? What's the one that you've kind of had subconsciously deep in your heart that you've wanted to overcome but haven't really had the answers to? Or maybe you have had the answers to, but you're just a little bit unsure about how to take that next step. Please let me know down below, because this is stuff that I think is really important to talk about. And if we put it out there into the open, it gives us more of a chance to help one another out and spark that dialogue. And I would love to jump in there and help as well if you're struggling with one of these at the moment. That being said, if you are feeling stuck and maybe you feel like you're kind of in a rut, you don't really know what to do from here, I do want to give you sort of a framework that you can follow to produce music reliably on a regular basis. Because again, it's all about having routine and discipline blended with a step-by-step framework that you can rely on and depend on every single time, right? So in order to get that, I wanted to create a full start to finish process, breaking down how I write music from start to finish. And I call that my Complete Composers Framework workshop, which you can find down below in the description, 100% free. And I just want to give it to you as that answer, as that step-by-step guide, in case you're, again, feeling stuck, you're in a rut, and you want to see how I make music every single time from start to finish. And hopefully it gives you a couple of insights into how you can really just make your process a lot more productive and enjoyable and efficient at the same time. So again, that's down below if you want to check it out, completely free as a gift for watching this video today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Feel free to watch this video next if you want to watch more about composing music and the right tools, sample libraries, all that great stuff. And I'll catch you in the next video. See you very soon.